episode of the Coming Soon podcast with sPidA.
And here we go. Hello, everybody. sPidA here once again. Coming Soon podcast, San Antonio, Texas, being joined by Emmett and Larry. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing today?
Good, fine.
Good. It's a beautiful day here in Burbank, California.
I was going to say, man, where are you guys at, man? So, Cali, man, how's the weather out there? Let me ask you that.
It was a perfect day.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
I know I'm in Texas, of course, in San Antonio. I know Dallas been getting hit by rain pretty hard. We have a storm coming here tonight, so I'm hoping this while I'm asleep, so I don't deal with it. But yeah, other than that, man, it's been good out here, man. As far as San Antonio, man, have you guys ever been to Texas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I drove across it one time. It took 3 days. Yes.
And y'all didn't stop. Where were y'all going?
We were. I was with my father. We were driving from Atlanta to Los Angeles.
Oh, okay, cool, man. Yeah, you see, I've never been to California, man. I've always been on the west. As far as the like Florida, I've been to Atlanta. I never made it out there. I know we went to Idaho, a road trip years back. Made it to Vegas, and then we just came back. We didn't keep going, but so someday. Now, I mean, of course, filmmaking, man. This is why I have you guys on here, be able to talk about this project that you guys have coming up. But let me ask you, when it comes to filmmaking, what was it that got you guys started in the beginning?
Larry's a playwright, and wrote a lot of vehicles.
A lot of vehicles for older stars.
Oh, nice.
Made them all over the country, and I was making my living doing that. Before that, I was an actor. So, but Em and I, got together. We talked about, let's write a movie.
Yeah.
So far, we've written 6 scripts?
Yeah.
And we won a lot of awards, but this is the first one we've had made.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And let me ask you this, because when it comes to writing, I mean, of course, you have a vision, Emmett, or vice versa, and somebody else comes in. How does that play about? I mean, how do you guys go about, like, okay, you know what? I mean, do you guys feed off each other, or what's the relation like?
I've tried to collaborate with a number of people, and it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
And usually the reason it doesn't work is because because we don't trust each other.
Right.
Somebody says, well, my idea is better than your idea. And the other person says, well, I like my idea better. And pretty soon you reach you can't do anything.
Right.
I like his ideas. I really do.
Similarly, I like his ideas. Yeah.
You got to believe in the other person. You got to believe that they're doing, that what they're bringing to the table is at least as good as what you are bringing.
Man. Now, I mean,
we've been working together now for several years, and we haven't ever had a big blowout fight of any kind.
Not yet, right? Not yet.
What I'm saying is that it's a pleasure to be working with Emmett, because he's not quick to fly off the handle, and neither am I. If we talk about it and resolve it.
No, well, that's cool, man. I mean, especially that you guys get to feed off each other. I mean, of course, I know ideas are always running through y'all's head. I could imagine. So, I mean, when you come to writing, I mean, is it more like you're writing something and you get stuck and you're like, okay, what can I do? Is that how you guys collaborate?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes I'll read something to him. I'll say, I think this is garbage. And I'll read it to him, and he'll say, I think we can clean that up and make something out of that. And when we do, it works out,
Man, now, of course, I mean, writing, as far as publications, I mean, have you guys ever worked on a book, novel?
I haven't.
No, well, I wrote a couple of books on my own.
Okay.
And they're fun. They're out there in the world, but I like writing movies better.
Yeah.
I love movies. And so I love, imagining what that'll look like on the screen,
Nice, man. Now, I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, of course, you see a film, how much do you criticize yourself when it comes to work? I mean, if you see a film, do you dissect it or you just sit and enjoy it? I mean, what's the process?
You enjoy films.
I
Go ahead.
no, I want to. I want to enjoy every time I go to a movie. I want to sit down and enjoy it. And there are times when I at the end I've been like, I don't have a problem with what I just saw. That was fine. And then other times I'm angry. I'm annoyed. I'm like, what were these people thinking? But I know what goes into it. I know all the hard work because I've done so many different things on different movies for other people and myself.
Right.
So I'm never like, oh, these people don't know. Like I'll find something to like about almost every movie because sometimes I've got one of the worst movies I ever saw had some of the most beautiful photography I've ever seen.
Okay, I see.
It was just beautiful.
There's always something good to take from a movie.
Yeah.
And when there is nothing like that, which is rare, then you realize, God, they gypped me. By $8 or $12 or $16, whatever it is.
Yeah. You go out for a refund, huh?
Right.
No, you see, and that's kind of one of the things. I mean, for myself, I've been watching horror since like the early '80s. At the beginning, of course, it was we didn't have cable, so it was a lot of black and white, reruns, which I'm grateful for because I was able to see a lot of great classics. But I sit through everything nowadays. I'll sit down and the poster catches my attention, the storyline or the actors on there, and I said, okay, you know what, I'm gonna sit through this. And there's some films that just aren't for me. I'm not gonna dog them or downgrade them and say, oh man, that was, but I will say, okay, you know what, it wasn't for me, but I just put it out there and let other people get their own opinion because of course we all don't like the same thing, but it's just I mean I'm the same way. I'm just grateful. I'm like, you know what, I'm glad they made this film, all the work they put into it, the actors, I mean, who knows, maybe a different script or a different actor makes a difference, or when it comes to the writer or the director, things change. But other than that, I'm the same way. I'm just glad to go out there, see the movie, whether it's on the big screen or on the stream service. I'm grateful. Appreciate the hard work you guys put into this.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now let me ask you, of course, besides the other projects that you guys have done, and I want to get into that as well. But this image right here, without a name, this party never ends. And I saw the trailer. And man, I enjoyed it, man. I swear, I think I went to that party. I saw the screen, and I'm like, dude, I think I was there. The music was right up my alley. I was like, man, okay, you know what? Yeah, exactly. It caught my attention, and I said, man, okay, the characters. I mean, I liked everything about it. I did. I was like, okay, wow, okay, I can sit through that. I mean, of course, that was the trailer itself, but you guys definitely got my attention. Now, let me ask you, when it came to writing that. Where did that come from?
Well, the idea, was just the basic idea, came from me. I thought, what could be a good, beginning or starting point for a horror picture? And I thought, well, what about a bunch of families or people living in a town in which it's kind of held over the sways, or the way it's swayed of the cults.
Right.
Boy and his father go to the town to do some fishing, and that's when all hell explodes. But that's only a rough outline of what I thought. He filled in a great deal of the film, and even at one point we were thinking, well, how could we change this? How could we make it better? And Emmett, the next time I saw him, showed me a scene that he had written for the beginning of the film, and it was terrific, and we used it.
It kind of sets up why does this cult exist? Why did it start? And what was the incident that grabbed all these people and said, right. This is going to give you direct access to God. if you do this, then God is your man, you know.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. You see, and that's the reason I was asking because I mean, of course, here in San Antonio, you know, we have folklore, we have stories, you know, local legends, and you know, one of them is this one place called the Devil's Den, you know, and they just came up the other day in conversation with another local filmmaker because they were like, man, we actually filmed there, and I was like, okay, you know, like we used to go hang out there in the '90s, and it was, you know, through hearsay, it was like, oh, you know, that's where they go and worship the devil. You know, there was 2 kids that ended up being murdered, unfortunately. You know, and then they were found in that area, and everybody right away assumed there was a devil, a cult. You know, and it turned out it was just a schoolmate. Years later, they found who it was, and it's a sad situation. You know, but I mean, when it comes to a cult, I mean, of course, everybody, you know, it gets people's attention. You know, because you're like, okay, you know, what's going on with this group, you know. One of the, I mean, there was a lot of things that I picked up on the video or on the trailer, should I say, and I think it was in the description, but it was saying like when the father was trying to help the son, but sometimes the son didn't want help,
Right.
and I'm thinking, okay, you know what, it's a twist, you know, because it's like you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna do a good thing, you know, pull my son out of this, and he doesn't want to leave, and you know, I'm, you know, and of course, I mean, you know, once the film is out, you know, we'll find out. But I'm curious as to why he didn't want to leave. You know, that's one of the questions, of course. But you know,
Well, everybody at different ages, everybody is experiencing it, is having a different experience. You know, having a different level of fun. And in the case of our cult, when you're young, that's when you have the most fun.
oh yeah,
That's when, oh my God, there's no rules. I can do anything I want. I can eat anything I want. And frankly, that's what being human is. It's kind of unfair. The young people, you know, it's like they're made of rubber. They can barely get hurt, you know.
I remember those days.
Yes. And now you got aches and pains, and you know, it's kind of about how it's unfair to the older people, and you know, but it's great for kids.
I think one thing that maybe distinguishes the movie a little apart, you know, sets it apart in a way, is that we decided that even though there are some shocking sequences in this film, it is not a slasher movie. There's violence, but there is not a lot of violence. There's shock, you know, there's not a lot of shock, but taken all together, it's the creepiest damn thing you ever saw in your life.
You know what? I was asked a while back, and this was from another filmmaker out there in Pennsylvania. But he had asked me like if I was a fan of a gore of slasher films, and my answer was, you know what? Like I've seen so much stuff throughout my life. You know, I've been in situations. I've seen, you know, a lot of things. You know, and for me, it's not even so much actually seeing it. Like I could just see somebody holding a hammer, and my mind's already racing. Like, oh man, like you know what? So it's like even if I don't see gore, even if I don't see blood, like I'm still enjoying it. You know, the story, you know, hooks me, and I'm intrigued, and I'm watching it. I'm like, okay, you know what? Like I don't have to watch all that. You know, it's great when they make it. You know, a lot of filmmakers decide to do that, and that's great. You know, of course, but you know what you guys are telling me, I'm like, okay, you know what? That's still something I would want to see because I'm not big on guts and blood and, you know, brains hanging out. I mean, if they're great, you know, cool. But I mean, when it comes to the film, of course, you know, but yeah, you know, you're saying it's going to be, there's not going to be much of that, you know, when it comes to violence, it's minimal. And, you know, I'm more for the story, you know, I want a good storyline, you know, the character build up, you know, the music, of course, you know, Fang's out there, dude. So of course I dig that. You know, like I said, you know, the fact that those kids were out there partying, I'm like, okay, you know what, that was a party I was never invited to, but I wish I would have been to. But all the cool kids, you know. But yeah, man. I mean, it looked like a fun film. I mean, it's a trailer, but I mean, did you guys have fun when it came to filming the trailer?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I mean, the whole film's done.
Oh, okay, you guys are done.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But no, what you saw was made. You know, we made that from the finished movies.
Oh, sweet, man. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's out there waiting to be watched. So hopefully we're gonna be screening in some film festivals in the next couple of months.
Oh, man, okay.
and then we'll make our debut on streaming, and hopefully maybe even in theaters. We're going to try it.
Sweet, man. And let me ask you, because out there in your neck of the woods, I mean, when it comes to theaters, I mean, do you guys have any local theaters that you guys talk to that are interested in doing this?
In Los Angeles, if you have the money, everything's open.
Yes.
In other words, no, right? That's what you're telling me.
I mean, you know, you can scrape something together and you can do one, you know what I mean? It's you do one screening, or you do, you know, but you find opportunities. There's a couple of film festivals here in LA that I have had movies in the past.
Oh, okay.
And there's no guarantees, of course, but I'm thinking of submitting this film to one of those, and if we get in, they always do their screenings in good theaters. So it's a really nice, you know, it's a full professional movie theater, you know.
Right. No, so, I mean, definitely a great opportunity, man, because you'll get eyes on your film. You know, people will be able to see it, you know, before it's released. That's one of the greatest things. I mean, I know we have some here locally that, you know, they'll do like a movie screening, and a lot of times I try to make it, you know, depending on scheduling. But you know, when you miss it, I'm like, oh man, you know, I'd rather see it on the big screen. You know, I mean, of course, streaming, you know, it's a convenient, you know, you're at home, or you can just watch it from wherever. But I mean, being able to sit down in the theater and just enjoy it, I mean, that's a plus.
I don't want to jinx our movie, but we've entered two festivals in Austin.
Oh, nice, bro.
I haven't heard whether we got in yet, but one of them is called the Austin Film Festival,
right,
of course. And then is it Fantastic Fest? There's a big horror thriller science fiction festival in Austin. I thought it was Fantastic Fest. So hopefully we'll be in your neighborhood.
No, yeah. I mean, Austin, you know, it's about 45 minutes to an hour away, so it's not, you know, it's right up north. So that's actually pretty cool, you know. You know, Austin is a place to be when it comes to filmmaking. I mean, they film a lot here in San Antonio on the outskirts, you know, small towns, but you know, Austin big for music, for film. So of course, you know, that's where everybody tries to go to, man. And I hope you guys make it, you know, I mean, or at least be able to make it out there and be able to showcase your movie, because, you know, like I said, I'd rather watch it in the, you know, on the big, you know, screen when it comes to the theater. I mean, it looked like a, you know, hella fun. Well, let me ask you, I mean, you said the film was done. So how fun was it filming the movie, man? Let me ask you.
Well, we filmed it in Wisconsin.
Right.
And partly because one of our producers was based there, and he was one of those, you know, what do you call him? Like, you know, like Mr. Fix-It. Yeah. Like, oh, I know a guy who can get you this. I know a guy who got, you know, I can do this. I can do that. So his name is Eric Lukert, and he was great. He connected us with every place where we filmed was connection through Eric. And he found us some fantastic places to shoot. So we went there. We cast. You know, we found our actors locally.
Right.
And, we shot it all there, and took everything back to Los Angeles, and we edited it here. But we actually went back to last fall. We went back to Wisconsin and did a screening for the cast and the crew.
Sweet, man.
Yeah, they got to see it.
Man, and well, let me ask you, I mean, you have the shirt, but the band, I mean, was that a local band out there?
You know, I'll tell you about Fang. Fang is Fang I think was founded in 1980 in Berkeley, and that's where I grew up.
Right. And
so the lead singer of Fang lived next door to me when we were kids.
Oh, sweet, man.
So I've stayed in touch with him. Very interesting guy. His name is Sam McBride, also known as Sammy Town. He's kind of a legendary figure. Yeah, if you look him up.
No, for sure, man. I'll definitely do that.
There's a lot of stories, but he's a great guy. And I said, hey, can we use your music in this film? And he didn't even hesitate. He's like, I don't want to swear. He just said, yeah. Yeah. And he's been great. I've been actually helping him on some of his projects too.
Oh, sweet, man. You see, and that's one of the things because just the other day I was talking to another director, and I was telling them, I said, man, for me, watching films in the early '80s, mid '80s, a lot of them, the music were indie like musicians, local punk rock, indie rock, and I was a fan of punk rock before I knew what it was, So for me to listen to that, and then years later be like, dude, I've been listening to that band from that soundtrack for who knows how many years, So it's just, but yeah, I used to listen. I mean, here locally, punk rock music, man, and so it's always had that spot in my, it's always punk rock and horror, man. That's pretty much what it is, So, and that's kind of what attracted me to that film because I was like, okay, you know what, like it's, like I said, it's right up my alley. I enjoyed it, I sat through it, and I was like, man, okay, now that I know it's done, I mean, I definitely want to see that, man, and I hope you guys, able to bring it out here.
I'll send you a link so you can watch it.
Dude, please, bro. Actually, I'll put it on my big screen. That's the closest I'll get to the theater. But yeah, by all means, man, I would appreciate that.
I want to tell you just one thing. You may not have heard of Fang, but Fang's music has been covered by Metallica, Nirvana, Green Day, Mudhoney, the Butthole Surfers. In other words, there are a lot of famous bands who love Fang.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's cool music. It's great.
Oh yeah, you see, and I mean Berkeley especially. There's a lot of bands out there that I grew up listening to, and it's just probably one that I mean, I'm pretty sure I've heard the songs now that you mentioned the bands that covered them. So I'm gonna definitely look them up and see, man, because I mean the name itself, I mean, sounds freaking killer, man. I was like Fang. I was like, is that a real band? I mean, but it gets to the point.
Something interesting about the soundtrack is that as the film goes along and becomes gradually darker, so does the music.
Nice.
It corresponds to what is happening on the screen. That it's not inducing you to feel fear or all that, like in some movies when the music goes down. And you get tired of that after a while. But as this film goes on, the music captures that same.
Nice, man. So it keeps up with the actual mood, the theme.
Yes.
Sweet. Man, well, that sounds freaking. That sounds great, bro. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that's why I was asking as far as where that came from, because of course, at one time we were all young. We were out there partying, hanging out with our friends, and no care in the world. I mean, you talked about them falling down and getting back up. I tell people nowadays I fall down, I take a nap. I wait till somebody picks me up.
It's nice to be on the floor. Yeah, yeah, you got a little easier, I think.
But let me ask, I mean, now
I love being around young people because I love the energy. I loved making this movie partly because of all the kids in it.
Yeah,
I mean, they were nice kids. I'm a former school teacher, so I know how bad it can get, and these were great. These were great kids.
They were wonderful little actors too.
Yeah,
they really were. I mean, I didn't think, well, how did they cast this from out in Wisconsin? But they had some great talented kids out there.
They showed up. Yeah, they showed up for the auditions, and
they killed it.
A couple of people even came from. Was it San Francisco? Was it?
No, we had one. We had one. One of our stars came from Miami, and then when you see the movie, there's a blonde woman. Her name is Deborah Johnson.
Right.
Deborah drove up. Deborah's a mother with 3 kids and a husband, and Deborah drove up 5 hours from Missouri for our audition.
Wow.
And then we cast her, so she drove back, a month later with her husband and her kids for 2 weeks to shoot our movie. I thought that was fantastic.
Man, that's awesome. I mean, especially you see, and I mean, not that I'm surprised, but I'm kind of glad that she has that support from her husband, because man, a lot of times relationship, those are the killers. They're like, we're going where? Like, no, especially her being the mom of mother of 3. I mean, that's awesome, man.
There was one young person in the movie whose father came with them and watched the shooting of the picture.
Sweet.
And that was really something. The father took off whatever was happening in his life to go watch his son play a major part in a movie.
If you're talking about the same kid, I think you're talking about that boy. After shooting our movie, right after shooting our movie, he went on a tour in The Sound of Music throughout Asia. Did you know this?
Yeah.
His father.
You did mention it.
Yeah, the kid's about 12 years old, and he went through all these big Asian cities.
Wow.
The kids in The Sound of Music, and his dad was with him the whole way.
Ooh, that's awesome, man. Wow. I mean, I love hearing stuff like that. You know, I mean, there's a lot of friends. A lot of times, not to say they missed out on a lot, but I mean, if they would have just had that partner or that parent to say, you know what, let's, tag along. I mean, I'd be glad if my dad were to say, hey, let's go do this thing. That's like the perfect thing to do, man.
The dad could have easily said, I can't take off work to go on do some play. This is ridiculous.
Or he might say, oh, we're going to be naked like the people in all those movies. That's it today, We said, no, not at all.
Yeah.
Man, nice. Well, you know what, man? I mean, yeah, like I said, the trailer itself looked fun. I mean, it looked hella fun, and I was like, man, I bet you these guys were out there rocking, and I mean, the music. I mean, of course, you guys used the music from Fang. Now that I know that, I mean, that's pretty cool, man.
When you see the kids dancing around the fire in the movie, that they were listening to Fang. Like I brought it with me. They were like, "What is this?" I was like, "Just move. Don't think about it. Just dance."
No, yeah, you see, and that's what I like about music. It's like it's international. You can listen to it, and I mean, whether it's the melody or whatever, you just go with it, man. I mean, it's a rhythm, so that's great, man. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm excited to, especially I'm gonna be able to watch this. I'm gonna be hell of excited. There's a lot of things when it comes to movies that I enjoy. The character buildup. A lot of these actors, had they worked together like before?
No. Actually, there were a couple of local guys who knew each other.
Oh, okay.
They're like, hey, we're back together. But a lot, it was a big diverse group. There were a lot of people, meeting for the first time. And one of the nicest things is that I know that a lot of the kids have stayed in touch with each other after the film.
I was gonna say, because I mean, that's the chemistry. It's like one of the things I notice in life. Whether if I could be at a drive-through and I could see the person taking my order just like dreading everything, and I'm thinking, man, and when I see that, I take it upon myself to cheer him up, and I'm like, hey, man, how's it going? How you doing today? And it's just like, years back, somebody had told me, because I told them, I was like, man, I'm in a bad spot. I don't want to be here. It was work and it was this. And he said, man, well, you're not a tree, man. You can go do something. You can get up and go. You can do something else. And that's my what I always tell people. I'm always like, man, if you don't like where you're at, go, do something else, man. I mean, it's like, especially if it's just a job, then go do something else you're gonna enjoy and have fun with. Because I mean, I've had jobs that, I just didn't want to be there. And of course I left, after a while. I was just like, man, but yeah, for sure. I mean, the chemistry was there. That's why I was asking if some of these guys, the actors knew each other, because you could tell they got along. And I'm like, okay, you know what? That's one of the things I look at. I mean, the music, of course, you guys killed it. The storyline, love it. The lighting, I mean, everything on it, man. It was dead on, bro. So you guys did a great job.
There wasn't a spoiled brat in the cast.
No.
There was nobody we had to let go for
prima donnas, nobody demanding fresh water, room temperature, nothing.
These kids worked hard.
Nice.
They didn't present a lot of problems.
No. And in fact, I have to tell you, it was her last day of filming. It was one of the kids. I don't want to spoil who it is because I'll embarrass her. But she came up to me, she kind of pulled down my shirt, like, "Excuse me." I leaned down and she goes, "You're a really good director."
Nice.
That meant so much to me. I was like, "Thank you." And then actually one of the other kids said, "As soon as I become a star, I'm going to hire you to direct my movies." I was like, I'll take it.
You should have told them, put it on paper, kid.
He was right, by the way. He is a very good director.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, man. Well, that's great, bro. I mean, and of course, now that the film is done, I mean, are you guys working on something else?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And of course, this is something that both of you guys are working on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a script we're writing together.
Sweet, man. Now, when it comes to writing, the genre, man, what do you guys normally work on? Is it primarily horror? Is it? I mean, what do you guys try to work on most of the time?
We've
But
written
genre or
yeah.
oh,
We've written some comedies and
Okay.
and a couple of thrillers, a horror comedy.
right.
Yeah, those are my go-to, man. I love that stuff.
And a mystery story that's very horrific.
Sweet, man. And now let me ask you this: the next project that you guys are working on, what is it based on? I mean, as far as is it a thriller? Is it a comedy?
It's a thriller.
Okay. Okay.
I think with some, I don't want to say comedy. I'll say some clever moments. That might make you chuckle, but I mean, one of my favorite films of all time was The Silence of the Lambs, and when it comes to thrillers, that's for me that's the gold standard because the movie is it's scary, it's often funny,
yeah,
and it's interesting, and it's and you see great acting.
As in all of our scripts, the film is character driven.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not special effects driven or star performances driven. It's the cast of everybody in the cast has a story and it drives the whole film. So that's one way we work.
Man, that's great to hear because I know the same thing a while back. I interviewed somebody, another director, and he was just like, "Man, I'm tired of those films where it's like it's the intro, and then the rest of the movie is just them running. There's no character build up. And I thought about that, and I'm like, man, like yeah, that's true. It's just, I mean, yeah, they're just running away and hiding and getting killed, and it's like, man, well, where's the character build up? Where's the storyline? Where is it going? It's just. But yeah, I mean, the fact that you guys are, actually put, work into this, man. I mean, I'm more than sure it's going to be worth watching. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, now, I mean, of course, you guys are looking to put it in a few screenings. As far as the hopefully the Austin Film Festival, among others. As far as, are you guys going to be doing physical media, or is it just going to go straight to stream? What are you guys thinking?
There's a distributor service that I work with on other films. It's called Film Hub, and they offer they do offer a physical media option if a film gets to a certain level of popularity. So, and that's kind of nice because, believe it or not, that can lead to your movie being put in libraries.
Yeah,
physical libraries where which I don't think libraries get enough love. And
no. I mean, it's just, I mean, for us, my kids growing up, I mean, we used to live there. We used to go to the library downtown. We used to go to bookstores, pick them up, go to the library, and just sit down and let they'd read. But yeah, that for many that was a place to go and unwind and just relax, man. So yeah, I mean that's
a lot of my life there in the library.
No, for sure. I mean, I'm when it came to books, I used to read a lot when I was younger, probably all the way to like high school, and then after that, it just kind of, I tell people I used to have an underground zine. It was mostly towards like punk rock music. This was like in the early '90s, early to mid '90s, and it was during that era where I used to have to write letters to the band, and they used to have to send them back, and I type them and I put them. I used to go to Copy Max and cut and paste by hand, put them on paper. I mean, it was wild, but I got them out there, and I was able to do 5 zines. But with those zines, I started distributing music from different labels, like in Germany and England, New Mexico, New Jersey, and Spain. So these labels were sending me boxes full of vinyl, T-shirts, buttons.
wow.
I would sell them, and I would send them back an invoice or a money order, right? But there was so my zine. So my zine, I was like some 20-something-year-old kid from, San Antonio, in the middle of nowhere, man. And my zine was being sold all over the world, bro. And I mean, for me, it's unreal. I never looked at it that way, but I mean, I would go to shows in Dallas and Houston, and I would see it out there, and I'm like, I was in Houston for a show, and this guy that I knew was like, he had it in his hand, and I'm like, and I said, bro, that's mine. And he was like, what? He's like, dude, I bought it, bro. This is mine. And I said, no. I said, that's my zine, bro. And he was like, what? Like, nah, I ordered it from, Bronco Bullfrog in Germany. And I'm like, dude, look at the bag, look at the P.O. box. And it's in San Antonio, Texas. And he's like, what the hell? Like, oh, shit. Like, I mean, it was before social media, so people didn't know. I decided I had an alias, so, I mean, every once in a while, my face would be on the photo, but I wouldn't put my name. It was just kind of like, man, who's doing this, But it was cool, man. I mean, it took a lot of work, but I enjoyed it. It was mine. I created it, by hand, and But I mean, I've never made a film, but I can only imagine that once you create it, write it, set it, and direct it, and you see it, you must be overwhelmed. Glad, like, okay, you know what? It's finally out there. All that work you guys put into it, man. It's become a reality.
Well, it's funny. We both have always enjoyed the theater. Doing plays and I love the theater, but one of the things I love about making a film versus putting on a play is, first of all, when it comes to screening the movie, my work is done. You know what I mean? Like that, like in a play, the performance, you're working, you're out there. You've got to nail it. But when I made a movie and I'm just screening the movie, I'm like, it's finished. It's I hope you like it. And the other thing is that it's permanent. Yeah. I love that it's permanent. Yeah. It kills me that people will do a play and they'll be do an incredible performance, and the only people who will the people who were in that theater will share that experience, and then all that's left is they can talk about it. Yeah. And even if somebody like videotaped it, I know from experience, nobody wants to watch that videotape. It's just, the sound's bad, the picture's bad. Like, nobody wants to.
When I was working in the theater, it struck me that some of the fine performances that were, being given in the plays that I was in, they're done to air. Yeah. In the audience, it's just an air, and then when it's over, it's it. I'm not talking about breaking up of the cast and everybody going their own way. I mean, literally. Yeah. It's a like puff of smoke, and it's gone.
Man, bro. You see, and of course, I mean, like Emmett mentioned earlier, I mean, once you put the film out there, I mean, there's no do-overs, right? I mean, it's like, we're done, let it go, So, I mean, after that, it's pretty much, up to everybody whether they enjoyed it, liked it. When it comes to the films, I mean, of course, you guys, have the screening. Like you said, the people that worked on it, you guys did a screening for the those that were involved. What were some of the reactions? I mean, when you guys were sitting back, were people laughing with the humor?
They were laughing in the right places.
Right. Well, yeah. I was gonna say, not at you guys, but definitely. I mean,
no. And honestly, this was a very friendly audience, and the movie was not finished. A lot of the visual effects were not in it. The sound wasn't right, but and we explained that, what I mean, before they started the screening. We said, like, this is not finished, you guys, be patient. But they loved it. They were so, afterwards, everybody was on cloud 9, and we had a party afterwards, and it felt so good,
Nice, man.
Because I've learned a couple of things. I've learned doing live performances or screenings or whatever. You can do a question and answer session afterwards, like, hey, what'd you guys think? And people will be like, I thought it was okay. But basically, the audience tells you what they thought without telling you.
Oh, yeah.
If they get up and they leave, they probably didn't like it. You know what I mean?
That tells you right there.
Yeah. Everybody's like, "Hey, I got a thing I gotta get to. It was great, thanks." But they're out the door because they don't want to face you. But if they want to stick around and talk to you, then it meant something to them.
Yeah.
It's
Nice, man. No, well, for sure. I mean, and let me ask you this, because of course I haven't seen the film, but is this a one and done, or are you guys thinking sequel? I mean, what's going on with this film?
It is. I'll put it this way. I don't want to give anything away, but enough of the main characters are still alive by the end of the movie that we could do a sequel. like we didn't, like not all the important people are dead by the end of the movie, so we could do a sequel.
It's one of those stories that you can keep adding on to if you want to.
Because there's more to say,
Yeah.
Because it's about cults, but it's also about being a parent. It's about letting go of kids as they grow up. There's a lot in there. So I think there could be a sequel. If I'd love it if somebody came in and funded it.
Oh yeah, of course. Let's put it out there, man. I mean, of course. Well, let me ask you this, because of course, once you guys start putting it out there, I mean, the response is going to be one thing, because I mean, you truly never know. Like somebody might see it and be like, hey, I'm interested in you guys doing a sequel, or what else are you guys working on? And that's pretty much where it goes. So yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I hope somebody does, somebody's there at the right time, at the right place to be able to watch this and be like, man, who are these guys? Like, let's go talk,
Oh yeah, that would be great. It's
Sweet,
we have about 4 or 5 scripts right now that are shootable, and we're trying to figure out what to do next. As far as I'm still resting. But I definitely don't want to stop, making films. I mean,
no, for sure, man. And that's one of the things. I mean, if you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. That's something somebody told me a long time ago, and that's my mentality with everything. It's like, if I don't enjoy it, I'm like, man, I'm gonna go somewhere else. I'm gonna do something else. It's just, I mean, I know money's money when it comes to work, and you gotta work to get paid and pay bills. But it's just, I'd rather be in a place where I'm gonna be happy, and enjoy being there, and be able to enjoy life in general, man. So, the fact that you guys are doing this, I mean, I hope you guys keep pulling them out, keep throwing them out there, and be able to watch some more projects from you guys.
Let me give you a quote. I don't even remember where I heard it, but films are never finished; they're abandoned.
Yeah. That's great.
Oh yeah, I like it.
At some point, you just got to walk away. It's like,
and it's true. At some point, even playwrights learn that. And you can't keep revising the thing forever.
Yeah.
At some point, you have to say it is finished and send it off.
No, for sure, and that's true. I mean, because there's so many movies out there that I've seen, and I'm like, man, like that's it. Like what happened, man? And a lot of times they just, whether it's a director or writer, they don't keep going with it. But yeah, man, I mean, if it's something that's leading up to a cult classic, you never know. That's one of the things. Even now, like I attend a lot of conventions. I mean, here locally or in Texas, and I'm able to sit down with a lot of these actors from films in the '80s. From The Howling, from, I mean, Children of the Corn, and I'm always like, man, I always, at the beginning, I was always like, man, I mean, what were your thoughts when you got this? And they were like, man, it was just a job. Like, we were just trying to get paid. Like, it wasn't like we were like, oh man, I want to be that character. They were just like, we auditioned like 100 times, and whatever called us first, that was it, and they're mind blown, because they're like, man, I would have never thought, like 30 plus years later, like people are still watching this stuff, like that movie that, I remember being there, I was there, but it's just, it wasn't a big thing, and now it's huge, and that's the thing with films, it's you guys that make them, but it's the fans that are going to react to it and actually turn it into something else, or turn it into something huge. And but yeah, man, I mean, I enjoyed this, like I said, the trailer, man, I'm looking forward to it. When it comes to the reviews, I did throw one out there, and I mean, it's literally, when I watched it, I was like, oh man, like, okay, yeah, that's like early 90s for me, it's out there hanging out, the music, the camaraderie when it came to the friends, just no care in the world. I said, okay, it caught my attention. I mean, I read the synopsis as far as like, the father and the son, so You know, same thing. You know, I grew up with my stepdad, and one of the things I've always said is just like we never, you know, I'm here in San Antonio, man. I mean, not to say like the culture, but it was just like it wasn't a thing for us to show like, hey, I love you, dad, or hey, you know, just we just didn't grow up doing that, and that's one of the things I miss. You know, I missed out on, but you know, so the whole father-son relationship, I'm like, okay, I got that. You know, the hypnosis was there, and I said, okay, you know, so maybe it is about me. I don't know, man. I mean, you guys been following me or what, bro?
I'm definitely following you now.
Yeah, man. But I mean, okay, you know, the film as far as the band. I mean, of course, you guys use the songs. You know, you're helping them with projects. What kind of projects are they working on, man? They have new music coming out?
Fang's never stops touring, it seems. Sam just got back from Colombia.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, he was in Colombia. He found a bunch of punk clubs down there, man. There's music everywhere, and he was like putting things on Instagram. You know, like I found this crazy punk band at this little club, and you know, and he like took video of it. I mean, and that's one of the things I love about him is that he's as much of a music fan as he is a musician. You know,
right.
He loves to go he loves to fan out about other people's music. And actually, I will tell you this: all the music in the movie, those are all musicians or bands that I know,
right,
that I've worked with. One of the guys who wrote all the choral music for the movie, he's worked on 2 other of my films. His name is Rob Casal, and he's a genius. And then there's another band. There's a band called the Winona Riders. I kid you not. And then my cousin's in the band, and they're kind of a '90s punk band. Their music is cool. And then there's a guy who was in a band called the Uptones.
Okay.
You may not have heard of the Uptones. They're a ska band from Berkeley.
I've heard of them.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I listen to ska, man. That's cool.
Well, this guy Eric Dinwiddie was in the Uptones, and so he let us use a couple of his songs in the film. And the Uptones were like, have you ever heard of Rancid?
Yeah.
Well, Rancid, Operation Ivy, like those guys were. First of all, I went to high school with Tim and Matt from Rancid.
Oh man, sweet, bro. That's cool.
And those guys were in the audience of the Uptones when we were all teenagers. So the Uptones broke up at the height of their personality, of their fame, you know, of their. Right. It was just they all wanted to go to college, and you know, and they were like, oh, being in a band is dumb. I guess I don't know what they were thinking.
Man, and that's funny you bring up the Rancid, because you were talking about the band's touring. I saw Rancid came through here '94. They played at this little club here in San Antonio, man. And Lars, of course, you know, we got to hang out with these guys. I was at a convention last year here in San Antonio, and WWE was having a big, you know, Monday Night Raw. And I'm at the convention, you know, and I'm walking, and I'm talking to my buddy, and I'm looking down, you know, there's 3 guys walking up, and I look at my buddy, and I'm like, hey man, I said, dude, is that Lars? Like, holy shit, it is. So I'm like, hey, I go up to him, and I'm like, hey man, how's it going? And he kind of like, you know, hey, how's it going? And I said, bro, I said, I saw you guys back here in '94, man. And he's like, oh shit, DMZ, like he remembered. And I'm like, yeah, bro. Like I was like, dude, my boy over here was actually working that club, and he was like, oh, okay, yeah, man. And like everybody kind of like started noticing him, but I was just like, bro, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, WWE, man. I'm a big wrestling fan. He's actually doing that whole wrestling thing now too, man. I see him out there on Instagram. Well, that's cool, man. You know, that's definitely a good story to tell, because you know, you grew up with them, so of course, you know, went to school with them and all that great stuff. But yeah, the Uptones. I mean, Operation Ivy, man. I mean, you know, here a lot of the bands, of course, when it comes to ska, you know, out of California, bro. I mean, we had the Boss Tones from Boston, of course, but the majority, you know, Dancehall Crashers. I mean, you name it, dude. I still got a lot of their vinyl, man. I'm a big vinyl fan.
When I was in high school, I remember thinking, because I'm not a musician. You know, I liked music. I was always a filmmaker, photographer, but I would go see these bands, and I knew some people, you know, in them, and I just remember thinking, there's something special going on here, and you know, but you're like in the middle of it, so you can't really document it. You know, all you can do is kind of go, I just think there's something special, and then it's so funny looking back, you know, 20, 30 years later, it's like there's all this historical stuff that happened, and I was, you know, right. You know?
Especially now, like the kids are like, oh, there's a new band, and I'm like, man, they've been around for like 30, 40 years, bro. Like, man, I mean, we're talking about music, man. What about you, Larry? Man, what do you listen to, man? What kind of music do you listen to?
I love a lot of the music from my high school years. I was actually very into Talking Heads.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
And then of course I went to see the Uptones. I couldn't afford to go out that much, but you know, I had to pay. You know how kids nowadays like, oh, mom, can I give me some money? I'm gonna go do.
I'm still like that. I'm still calling my mom. Hey, can I borrow some money? No, not at all, man. But yeah.
Me, if you want something, you know, go get a job. Like, you know, earn money, and you know, you want to buy a record, go earn money. You want to buy concert tickets. So everything that I did was sort of hard won. You know, like I earned the money to do it.
Sweet, man. I was gonna say we're not taking calls right now, guys. So don't be calling. I thought it was one of those radio stations, right?
Yes. But I was also a metalhead.
Yeah. No, yeah, dude. I know they just announced yesterday. My buddy, my coworker, you know, we used to hang out back in the day, but we're Misfits is coming to Austin, right? And they're like, oh yeah, with the Misfits, the Agnostic Front, and Suicidal Tendencies, and I'm like, cool, you know. And then I started looking at the ticket prices, and I was like, oh crap. I said, okay, yeah, you know, we'll see, because it's in Austin, so it's not that far, but you know, as it gets closer, you know, definitely, man. We'll see what that's about. But yeah, man. I mean, of course. Let me ask you: is there anything else you guys want to tell us, man? I mean, of course, you know, we are the Coming Soon podcast. So, is there anything coming up? I mean, I know you guys are working on projects, but
I have several movies running right now on streaming. Yeah. If you guys want to check them out, the easiest way to find them is look for my name, because I don't think anybody else on earth is named Emmett Loverde. But I got 4 comedies on Tubi right now, so you can watch them for free.
Nice.
One of them's called She's Out of His Mind. One of them's called Santa's Letters. There's another one called Girls Night In, and then finally there's a short comedy called Good Business Sense. And this man actually helped me write that. I don't know if you remember, but he was very he was very helpful in the writing of that film. And I'm very proud of it. It's a 20-minute short, and
it's funny. Really funny.
Hey, man.
Beautiful little love story.
And I was gonna say, I like your choice of words when it comes to the titles. Was that done purposely?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It took a long time. I mean, some of these things were named other things.
Right.
And then people were like, I can't pronounce your movie, you know. I don't even know what this is. So I adapted and decided on a title that I think works, you know, on these things.
Sweet, man. And of course, I mean, Larry, I mean, when it comes to you know, him co-writing and helping you, or you know, what kind of music do you listen to, sir?
Well, I don't listen to much modern music. Probably this is not the right place to say this on this show, but I like opera. I like concerts, you know, classical music. I like all of that. But when I'm in the 60s, I loved the rock and roll of the 50s and 60s. So I listen to that too.
You see, well, let me say this because I mean, you bring up opera. I mean, as kids, growing up, I mean, I talked about horror movies and listening to punk rock before I knew what that was. I mean, watching Bugs Bunny. There was a lot of opera that they played, and I grew up. Because of that, I grew up listening to it. So when I would listen to it on the radio, I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of like that cartoon, and so yeah, we were able to sit through that. So.
North winds, whoa!
There you go. Man, you see, but those are the kind of things. I mean, when it comes to even now, like I'll listen to something and I'm like, boom, it takes me back in time, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool, man. But yeah, I mean, gentlemen, man, I appreciate you guys jumping on here. Man, I'd love to bring you guys back on here. Maybe we'll get Rancid. Maybe we'll get all the Lars. We'll bring them all on here, man. We'll be like, hey.
Tim and Matt might remember me from high school. I didn't know Lars, but it was one of those things where you're kind of. I'm going to tell you a quick story.
Yeah. No.
Matt Freeman used to be a good friend of mine when we were in 7th grade. He's in this band Rancid, and Matt, you know what you do. You go home after school and you listen to records, Yeah. And you got a new record, you bring it over to your friend's house, like, here, man, let's listen to it. So I had bought this album called The Who Live at Leeds.
Sweet.
And I said, Matt, you got to check out this album because there's this guy on it, and he plays the bass guitar, and I think it's really good. And Matt was like, oh, okay, cool. So we played it, and he was like, my God, that guy is amazing. And he was talking about John Entwistle of The Who. And I don't know when Matt decided to become a bass player, but it might have been that moment. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll have to find out, man. We'll have to bring him on here and be like, hey, man, you never know, man. That's amazing, though.
Some guy running around telling stories about you.
Man, well, that's cool, man. And now I'm intrigued about that. I'm gonna have to find out. I'm gonna have to dig in and ask him. You never know. He might be like, yeah, man, this guy brought this album, The Who.
I have to tell you though, a lot of the modern references in the films we made have been pure Emmett. Because I will say, Emmett, what sounds appropriate for this kid to say? And he'll say, well, this expression, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I never heard that before in my life. Next month I'll be 80 years old. And so,
man.
Yeah.
Still young, man. Still young.
Hopefully.
There's a wonderful moment in the movie where a girl is walking away from a boy. And as she's walking away, we're trying to figure out what to have her say something to the boy. And I think what you had come up with was, hey, say to the boy, hey, you're really cute. And so I ran this by a couple of teenage girls I know. And they go, no, he can't say that. Or she can't say that. That's too much. And I was like, well, what if she just said, stay cute? And they're like, well, maybe. So we ran that line through a panel of experts. And it made it. I think it's a nice moment. But
so they got to vote to see if they wanted to use it, right?
Yeah.
Man, that's cool. Well, I mean, that's pretty amazing too, man. Because of course, you asked for that participation. I mean, the fact that they were able to give you guys feedback, and even now, I mean, when it comes to technology, I got to call my kids, and I'm like, hey, how do you work this damn thing? I'm freaking stuck. It's like I'm still trying to figure this thing out. But man, social media, bro, it's amazing. I mean, I talked about the zine, way back when, having to write letters, and my typewriter, I loved it, man. I used that thing religiously. There's a lot of things, I still have it somewhere, but I mean, of course, I don't use it anymore. But times change, and we got to evolve. I mean, there's things. I mean, if it wasn't for streams like this to be able to get you guys, I'd be sitting at home waiting for you guys to write back.
One of these days, I promise, I am going to be able to use my television set and know that I'm getting the right channels that I want.
I still don't. My girl gets mad because she's like, why aren't you watching the news? I'm like, I don't know how to work this damn thing, man. Like, I have to wait for her to change the channel, But I always tell people when it comes to technology, I said, man, my VCR is still blinking 12 o'clock. You know, I never passed that up, man. I didn't progress. You know, I'm learning, but it's just it's a lot of work. You know, I'm still trying to get better out there. But you know, man, I appreciate you guys, man. You know, thank you for jumping on here. Love to have you back. You know, guys, back on. You know, we'll definitely chop it up again, talk and see what else we can come up with. But you know, appreciate it, man. I mean, don't hang up yet. Everybody out there, of course, Emmett, Loverde, Larry, Maraviglia. Is that how you pronounce it, sir?
Yes.
Yes. You pronounce it better than almost anybody else.
Right. You should see how my name can be muted and mangled.
Man, I appreciate you guys.
Maraviglia.
No, not a problem, man. Everybody out there, of course, sPidA here, coming soon podcast. As always, follow up.